Should I tell you one of my favorite scenes?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's just something that made me burst out laughing. The brother, he's going to the people, that kind of squadron, armed with Zamzam tanks that are there to give
water,
all these kind of cool gadgets to give water to the pilgrims. And I just thought they look like the Ghostbusters or something.
Oh my God, I thought exactly the same.
I just think
you're a film guy. Yeah, I can tell you're a film.
Hey, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome to today's episode of Islam 20C Unscripted podcast. We have a special guest today. We have Abrar Hussain, who's a producer, director, filmmaker. MashaAllah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Now, I've been following Abrar Hussain's work. MashaAllah, you have you've been at Islam Show in the past, but recently you've been recording some big budget kind of films about Masjid Al-Aqsa and Masjid Al-Harem in Mecca. It's available on Amazon Prime Video, the Masjid Al-Haram one, and you've been doing screenings around the country for the Masjid Al-Aqsa one. So just wanted to, get a bit to know you, maybe see a few clips during today's episode, inshallah. Who are you and how did you get involved in this business?
Well, I'm Abrar Hussain, like you said. I'm a producer, director from London. I guess I was kind of always involved in filming. I used to love the camera when I was growing up. So my favorite toy was the camera. When I was 10 years old, I was running around filming everything in the family functions and stuff. At 10 years old, I was doing that. As I progressed through university, I was filming everything at university. My university, Kingston University, actually paid me for one of the things that I filmed there for them. Okay. Yes, that was my first kind of paid production job. And then, alhamdulillah, as I got older, it was a real natural process just to keep picking up bigger and bigger camera systems. And they were very intuitive to me. And, the camera was just a really natural tool for me. It was like very much something that I was in love with, and I just loved the camera and loved shooting things. And that was even before I knew what a producer or a director was, what their relationship to each other was. It was just literally, I just loved the camera.
What about kind of editing and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we did editing at that time as well. From the camera, everyone would shoot on mini DV tapes in those days, transfer the mini DV tape to your laptop, edit it on some, toy software, basically. And then, but again, with the editing, everything progressed. I think I was very fortunate that I started off in a very low budget environment. When you start off in a low budget environment, when it comes to producing, directing, filmmaking, you learn how to do everything. So from an early age, I learned how to shoot. I learned how to edit. I learned how to put a story together. I learned how to interview people. I learned all of these things. And it was all very natural for me. It didn't feel like I was learning. It felt like,
Even myself, I really enjoyed making films and just, like you said, just family functions and stuff.
Yeah.
I remember my year 10 work experience was at National Geographic Channel.
Oh, nice.
And that was my first exposure to kind of non-linear editing suite. And it just blew my mind because before I just tried to, make whatever I could on basic kind of, I think the first computer I got was like 1998 or something. And very, very weak, not able to do much. But it was really, that process of discovery and so much fun. And now that kind of power is in everyone's pockets, You have anyone can make a short film on the iPhone, edit it on iMovie, and then just kind of.
That's it. The world is the filmmaker's oyster right now. Yeah. Everyone can do anything.
Do you think maybe some of the the sacredness has been taken away from the process?
I don't like that view. I mean, when the Red camera first came out, that was like a big milestone for filmmakers all around the world. Because when Red came out, and suddenly with that quality on a digital format, and suddenly all these guys that had been shooting on 35 millimeter film for ages and taking it to the lab and processing these things and learning this filmmaking process, suddenly all that knowledge went out the window. And I spoke to a lot of older kind of filmmakers, producers who were very disheartened by this and were very like, who do these kids think they are picking up cameras and shoot? It took us years to learn these skills.
I mean, some people still.
Well, I loved that though. I loved that. For me, that was a door opener for me. So how could I not like it? It cut a lot of the.
It reduced the barrier to entry.
Exactly, reduced the barrier to entry. Things, if you had potential and you had a good eye for a shot and you had a good eye for a story, then sky was the limit for you. And I think now it's even better. As you say, people are shooting movies on iPhone. iPhones now.
I mean, now people can shoot entire movies without a camera. Everything just a computer generated image and animation and everything.
Very true. Yeah.
SubhanAllah. So talk to us about your career in the kind of, because before the latest two films you actually did a series for Islam Channel, right, about mosques, model mosques.
I mean, that was, it's funny because I always think it's all part of a longer journey, like a wider journey. When I started my producing career, like I say, I had a concept for a show called Model Mosque, which was about finding the best mosque in the UK. It was like a reality type TV show. And I took this concept to many places, and they all rejected it. I mean, it was rejection after rejection. No one believed it was possible. I think mostly the feedback I got was that the mosque will never open their doors like this. You'll never be able to go in there with cameras the way that you're saying you're going to go in there with cameras. But alhamdulillah, Muhammad Ali at Islam Channel, he believed in the idea. He believed that I could pull it off, and he was the first person to say, okay, let's give this a shot. We made the show in 2007, and it was my first show. It was the first kind of product that I had made in terms of professional, on a professional broadcast level that was going to get broadcasted out. And alhamdulillah, by will of Allah, it happened to become the most successful show ever produced on Islam Channel. It was just tremendously successful. For the first time, this is in 2007, we had the BBC, we had Channel 4, we had Newsnight, we were mentioned in Parliament, Jeremy Paxman was talking about us, we were in the Guardian newspaper. All these things happened. It wasn't just the UK. This was worldwide. We had crews come from, international countries like Germany, Holland. We had a crew come from Saudi Arabia, which was so funny because I had no connection with Saudi at that time. But obviously 12 years later when I went to Saudi, I was like, Al Arabia, oh yeah, you're the channel that came to interview me in the UK about Model Mosque. So, it was really phenomenal. And
that's the story of many creatives, that rejection, and then they persevere, and finally, then the tawfiq
I think if
comes
you've
from
got
Allah.
a vision, you can make something, and if you believe in it, you can make it. And I believe that Model Mosque would have a tremendous impact because you got to remember the environment in 2007. Mosques were under severe scrutiny. People, non-Muslims were basically of the opinion that, man, what do these Muslims do in these mosques, man? Like what are they doing in there? No one knew. It was shielded. It was like there was a veil over it. So we endeavor to
pun intended.
Well, we plan to lift the veil and show people really the good work that mosques were doing, and Model Mosque became tremendously successful for that reason because it was very, very original as a concept. The budget was zero budget. There was zero budget, but it still generated positive media reviews all over the world.
I mean, there's a lot of khair in the community, alhamdulillah. I mean, it just needs someone to shine a camera on the channel light on there, and you have these amazing stories,
amazingly positive stories. I mean, one of the really interesting things that happened with Model Mosque, the British government, they had a communities and cohesion department that was dealing with the mosques, and they basically heard about the show. They called me in. I went to a meeting with them, sat around a table with those guys. You know what those guys said? They said, we have spent millions of pounds, on PR trying to spin a positive story about mosques. Like, how have you done it? Because we generated so much positive media. The amount of positive media we generated would have cost like £1 million just to put that media out, to buy editorials to put that media out. So it's very, very positive, that show. And that show basically gave me the confidence to start my own production company, the first production company. And alhamdulillah, everyone was my client.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. I mean, is it a coincidence, or do you have a thing for mosques? So
no, I have a thing for mosques.
Yeah, the model mosque.
It was no coincidence. It was no coincidence. It's never been a coincidence.
Where does that come from?
Before I made Model Mosque, I was an elected treasurer of my local mosque.
Oh,
okay, that's where the idea. Because I was working in this mosque, and I was thinking, wow, and I was seeing interacting with other mosques, and I was thinking, wow, there's a real disparity in the standards between different mosques. Wouldn't it be good to have a show that kind of put forward the best standards so that other mosques could emulate it? Yeah, as in a model, like a perfect model for a mosque. Now, here's the funny thing. When I finished that show, as I said, there was all this success, all these accolades came, all these awards came, and I thought, wow, this is an end in itself. Like, I've done something here. I felt like I'd done something. It was only 12 years later, shooting in the Harem, and one day it just hit me. I was there in front of the Kaaba. I think we're shooting some slow motion scene, and I thought, wow, Model Mosque. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me that permission to do that show about mosques in the UK as a preparation, as a training for this, what I'm making now, which is, the film on the biggest mosque, the greatest mosque of all, the first mosque. So, alhamdulillah, I really just see it all as part of one collective journey. I see that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens ways for you, and it's up to you if you follow that through, or if you go into a different direction. But for me, I always felt in my career guided by that. I always felt guided by Islam, and it pretty much dictated the jobs that I would take in the coming years.
Alhamdulillah. I mean, did you have a supportive kind of family and friends network, or usually with young people going into creative kind of the parents are maybe a bit apprehensive, or
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was never an issue. I understand this problem completely. I know people are in that situation who want to bust out and do something creative, but their parents are like, hey, man, is there really a career in that? Is there a future in that? Maybe you should just do IT or become a doctor. It's normal. But for me, I never had that. My parents were completely supportive from the start, and I think that was what made it easier for me. They never said to me, you can or can't do this. They never said to me, you have to do this. So, and also the other factor mixed with that is that I was very headstrong. I'm still very headstrong. If I decide I want to do something, I want to do it. So that's just my personality. That's how Allah made me. So I have that drive, and I don't need anyone. I don't need anyone to tell me, hey, you have authority to do it, or hey, you have permission to do it. I don't need anyone's permission. Just Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and my own creativity, and that's it. I'm happy. Yeah, I don't need anything. Yeah.
So because you were in a mosque before, you had that zeal to kind of showcase mosque. But how did that turn into an international thing? Okay, now I'm going to go to Masjid Al-Aqsa or Masjid Al-Haram.
Well, see, while I was, as I said, Model Mosque was tremendously successful. We opened a production company. All the main Islamic institutions in the UK were clients of mine. I was working with everyone. So all the major charities, for starters, I mean, Islamic Relief, Islamic Help, Muslim Aid, all these guys, Human Appeal, all these guys, Penny Appeal. I was doing jobs for them internationally. So I was going out with a small crew, filming their projects and coming back, creating the short films, and they would raise millions of pounds off this for the fundraising. So, that was a tremendous period, because in that period we traveled to like 35 or 40 different countries doing these international shoots, right? So it was a beautiful time, because I loved the work. The work was so beneficial. I was seeing things in other countries. I was going to go to places like, we went to Swat Valley for Action Aid International when the Taliban had just left there. It was a war zone. We went to Sudan when the famine was going on in Sudan. We went to Palestinian refugee camps in Lebanon. We went all over the world, and it was amazing, because it was so humbling for me to see that. To see that made me so humble and so grateful for what I had in the UK. And my opinion was that the majority of people in the UK didn't know how fortunate they were. My duty through the films was to show people this other side of the world, where people are running around going, okay, I think at that time was, hey, everyone wants Nike trainers and Adidas trainers. It was like, hey, man, have you ever had trainers that you wear? You can't even afford shoelaces for those trainers. Have you ever walked barefoot? Is to bring these realities to the UK. So I felt like the work I was doing was very important. Creatively, I was fulfilled, and I felt like I was helping.
30 plus countries you went to.
40 plus countries. Yeah, and in this period of 5 years. Yeah, so we did a lot of traveling all the time. Now, one of the jobs we got was Saudi Arabia. So literally, when I'd go to these countries, it was only for 7 to 10 days maximum. We'd go there, shoot what we need to shoot, and we'd get out of there. Went to Saudi, shot this film on a hospital, and at that shoot, I met an executive producer there. He wasn't an executive producer at the time, he was a marketing guy, but he wanted to be an executive producer. He wanted to set up a big production company, and he said, hey, I really need a producer here in Saudi. So he really wanted me to stay there. So he was like, please don't leave. Just don't go back to the UK. Stay here with us. And so I was...
That's called a kidnapping, I think.
Well, yeah, he tried that. And I was very against it. I was like, no. Because I'm a very...
It sounds like a kidnapping, yeah.
I'm a free spirit. I'm a very creative person. Blue sky thinking, this is me. And I didn't believe that I could stay in a country that was so restricted in a way, with so many kind of restrictions on your freedom. So I expressed this to him, and he said, no, it's completely different. Don't believe the hype. He goes, here, you'll be able to do... He's sold Saudi to me, basically. So I was liking Saudi anyway. Of course, the Haram is there, Makkah, Medina. So I thought,
halal Five Guys as well.
Well, halal everything, not just for halal everything. So, there were advantages to it. But I turned around to him and I said, look, I will stay in Saudi with you, but only on one condition. That you get me permission to do something in the Haram. And at that time, I didn't know it was going to be one day in the Haram. I didn't know it was going to be a feature length. I didn't know any of this stuff. All I had was a very good intention to do something great for the Haram, because I knew I had the skills to do something great for the Haram. So that's what I said to him. He immediately bought into that. He said, alhamdulillah, that's a fabulous idea. I'd like to do something on the Haram too. Let's do it. I'll guarantee you, if you stay here with me, we'll make this happen. So we said, alhamdulillah, we said, bismillah.
How long after that was the one day?
I came back to the UK after that 7-day shoot, and within 3 months, I was living in Saudi. Wow. He did all the paperwork for me. He did the Iqama, the everything that needed, the medicals, all these things. He did everything, and literally I was just... And you know how it felt to me? I said this to people at the time, because you see, you have to understand that in London, I I was like a producer who was punching above my weight. I was a big fish in a very small pond. There wasn't much going on with, I'd done everything that was to do Islamically. I'd worked with all the biggest nasheed artists in the world, all the Sami Yusufs, all these guys. I'd have filmed all their concepts, outlandish.
I mean,
these guys.
you don't have much left. You got the charity scene, you got the nasheeds,
and we killed those
Mosques,
scenes. We literally destroyed those scenes. There was nothing left for us creatively to do in those scenes. We were media partners on GPU. We were media partners on Eid in the Square. We were media partners on Islam Expo. We were media partners on every.
You had that fire in your belly. You wanted to get something.
It wasn't even like I had a fire in my belly. What I had was emptiness. I felt like I just wasn't stimulated anymore in the UK. I wasn't creatively. Nothing was making me excited about it. It was just going through the motions. If someone says, "Well, come to this event. We're gonna film this one. And we'll pay you. This amount of money. Come to the event. We're going to the event and we're filming. It's nothing new. It's not as creative. You're not fulfilled from that." So I saw Saudi as a big adventure, and I said to my close friends at that time, you know what it felt like, and this is honest. What it felt like. It felt like a big hand had just come and just scooped me up from London and put me in front of the Kaaba. That's how it felt, because that's how it happened. I had no idea I would be living in Saudi. And, when I first went to Saudi and I'm living in Saudi, walking down the street, I would literally just have to say, Subhanallah, look at what Allah does. I'm living in Saudi Arabia. I'm right next to the Kaaba. I'm right in Mecca. I'm in Medina. I'm in Jeddah. I'm in Riyadh. All these wonderful places that I'd heard about. It was like an impossible dream come true. It was just unbelievable. I couldn't thank Allah enough. And that was even before making One Day in the Haram. That came later. That just being in Saudi was a tremendous experience.
So between the time you you moved to Saudi and you got the idea or the started production of One Day in the Haram, how long was that?
I mean, I kind of didn't really have the idea for One Day in the Haram until we got very serious about, meeting the people who we needed to meet. And the first thing about shooting One Day in the Haram was, the permissions. And the thing about the permissions was we didn't even know, or no one seemed to know, who to ask for the permissions. Like, who do we approach? So we started off, approaching the Hajj, the Ministry of Hajj and Umrah. So we thought, okay, this is a good place to start. So we went to those guys. We pitched the idea for One Day in the Haram. They said, wow, this is fantastic, but we're not the guys you need to speak to. You need to speak to this department. So we'd go to that department. So we must have spent like a good few months going around all these departments and building up a groundswell of support for this film.
And that's good, because you did go to a lot of those different departments in the film. So they were...
I mean... The ministries were kind of different from the departments within the Haram, but the ministries were kind of guys on top, and they were based in Riyadh or offices in Jeddah. They're in different places. But it was still good, because, as I say, we built up this support, and a kind of a momentum started building with the film. But it took 8 months in all, from concept to getting the permissions for the Haram. And during that time, I wrote 6 different treatments. I mean, you know what treatment... I mean, for anyone who doesn't know what a treatment is, it's basically a blueprint of your production. Basically, this is what's going to happen in the production. Some costs, some production kind of equipment that you're going to use, and what the overall result's going to be. When I wrote the first one, everyone liked it. Many people were like, this will be great. But one person, say, for example, didn't like it, and then it would get vetoed. It would be like, okay, no, we can't make that film, or so I wrote another one, and they're like, oh no, we're working on a project like this, so it can't be this one. So I wrote another one and another one and another one, until I kept writing them until basically I had one where everyone thought it was a good idea.
Built a consensus.
Everyone thought it was a good idea. So that was very difficult to achieve. Alhamdulillah, we got there in the end, and that was the film that eventually became One Day in the Haram.
Okay, let's watch a few clips from it. Trailer. I think those people at home watching, will superimpose it onto the screen anyway, but you can see it here. Bismillah.
Imagine a place so sacred that God himself...
So you took this yourself?
I was just going to say, I love those opening lines. Imagine a place. When Allah gave me these lines, when I first wrote them down on paper, I knew it was going to be amazing. It's just those lines. It was so, imagine a place.
God chose himself.
Yeah.
The mountains.
You know how I feel? I feel like God gave me everything, and I was just the tool. That's how it feels when you're doing something like this. But these are some of the most iconic shots ever taken in Makkah.
How did you get these shots?
These were helicopter shots.
Helicopters,
These from a helicopter. The big city shots were from helicopters. The closer shots were using drones. I love these time lapses. The gate of Makkah here. I just love the time lapse. We did a whole series of time lapses.
At the center of Makkah is the Harem.
And the Haram looks so beautiful at night. I'll tell you a funny story.
And at the center of the Harem,
about the helicopters.
Yeah.
We didn't have harnesses.
This
Wow.
is the
There was no harnesses, yeah. So
You
this
thought I
is-
might die a shaheed
yeah.
here.
So I actually thought, I'm going to die here. Like, you know,
Yeah.
when they opened the door for the
Yeah,
helicopter
yeah.
and I stepped out.
Unscripted
But,
access
you know, it's
across
amazing
24
what Allah does. Like, when I looked down and I saw
the
what I
first
was
time in
filming, I
history,
saw the Haram and Mecca, and I
Yeah.
saw this
Witness the
magnificent
inner
sight in front of
workings
me.
of the
All
Haram.
my fear just went. I was just
Allah.
completely
Allah.
calm, without a harness, hanging out the
Yeah.
side of a helicopter. It was just beautiful, you
It's
know.
Baladul Amin. It's the safe
This is a
and
drone shot,
secure
actually, yeah.
land.
That was a drone shot. I mean, we used a mixture of drone and the helicopters. We're very lucky with the helicopters. The Saudi Air Force actually donated
Wow,
those helicopter flights
mashallah.
around Mecca. Yeah, we spent 8 hours flying around Mecca.
Wow.
Yeah,
must
4
be
flights of
amazing.
2 hours each, and we filmed all that time. I didn't stop shooting.
Subhanallah.
I was like to people, we're never going to get this opportunity again.
Yeah.
Do not stop shooting. Carry on shooting, no matter what it is. Even if it's just desert, I want it shot.
Yeah,
You know?
subhanallah. I mean, it's very, very, nice high quality production.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Mashallah. Something you don't normally see, because normally a lot of the shots you get
Yeah.
about the Haram are people on their phones or someone quickly doing a secret
I mean, we
thing.
didn't see it at the time, you see. But one of the things that the head of the Riyas Al Haramain, it's the media department in the Haram, said, they basically said, well, one day in the Haram is now the standard. It's the standard that we're all going to aspire to in terms of production in the Haram. It really set a new benchmark. So, alhamdulillah.
That's excellent. It's kind of pushing everyone's game up.
It is, absolutely. Yeah, I think, and that's part of the work as well.
I've got a little test here for you,
Okay.
because you
Just
sound like
bringing
you've
this
been
on
to.
me, huh? You didn't
sound
tell
like
me
you've
about
been
this
to,
before.
It's okay if you fail miserably, we can cut it out.
Well, that's good. Yeah, that's the beauty of editing, right?
You sound like you've been to a lot of masjids in your life.
Alhamdulillah, I
So
have.
I've got a few adhans from different.
A few
cities.
azans from different cities.
So
Okay.
different mosques.
Yeah.
I've loaded them up already. I'm gonna
Okay,
test
nice.
you. So I'm not gonna start with Haram. That's
Uh-huh.
gonna be obvious. So that's kind of
Yeah.
excluded that one. So let's see if you can guess this one. Bismillah.
I have no idea. I have zero idea. I'm not an expert on azans.
Okay.
I'm actually, I'm more of an expert on mosques,
Yeah,
but
okay.
not on azans. Yeah, but no, that sounded very nice. But I'm not sure which country that would be from.
Yeah, I mean it was Mahmoud's idea. It's a very nice idea, but it depends on which muadhin you get as well. But I think every city or country has its own style.
Yeah,
That was Masjid Nabawi, by the way.
that was Masjid Nabawi. Yeah.
Let's do this one.
It could be anywhere. I could say any number of countries this could be from.
Say that again. Guess. Okay,
Guess.
what would you?
Is that what?
I'll give you a hint. It's
yeah.
somewhere you've been.
Okay, so it's either Makkah or it's Al-Aqsa. But I think it might be Al-Aqsa.
Yeah, that is Al-Aqsa.
Yeah.
Hey.
I mean, one of the fascinating things when we did the section with muazzins in the Haram, and we also did a section with muazzins in Aqsa as well, in both movies. But when we did the Haram one, when the cameras were off, the muazzin and the muazzin second, because in the Haram, they never take a chance that the azan might not happen on time. So there's the muazzin and there's a backup muazzin, and then there's the trainee muazzin. So there's three there for every azan. And if the main guy fails or something goes wrong with his voice, one of the other two is. Anyway, when the cameras were down, we were waiting for the azan to happen because we wanted to film it. So we're just sitting there, we're chilling, we're having coffee and stuff, Arabic coffee. And the two muazzins are basically pitching different styles of azans to each other from around the world, and they're imitating styles from Syria.
Oh, you
And
should
he's
have recorded that.
Oh my God, I did record it.
Wow.
But this is because I saw it, what was happening, and it was so amazing. It was like hearing two world-class opera singers or something, challenging each other and feeding off each other and different notes and things like like an azan battle. I was like, this is amazing. I switched the camera on. I started filming it. They noticed I was filming it. No, please don't use this in the film. So they actually said to me, don't use it. So therefore I didn't use it.
You can show me privately.
Oh, it was beautiful. Amazing experience with these guys. Super talented, super talented.
They have like
voices.
scales. They call them
That's
maqamat.
right. Scales,
So
yeah.
scales.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like musical scales, but obviously not using instruments. But
The muazzin in Al-Aqsa, who has been the muazzin, his family has been the muazzins of Al-Aqsa since the time of Salahuddin.
wow.
So they have a line running, and it's the grandfather to the father to the son to the great grandson, on and on to the present day. The muazzin that we interviewed, his son, he'd also just brought his son into Al-Aqsa, so it's carrying on 600 odd years that's been in their family. And that muazzin told us a tremendous amount of detail about what it takes to bring the azan. He had a very unique style. His style of azan is that his lips don't move.
Wow.
So we're filming, and it's literally like, you know, I was like, man, the audience are going to think this is dubbed.
Ventriloquist,
Yeah, they're going to think it's dubbed. Yeah, because literally his lips don't move. It was an amazing style. But I think the greatest muadhins in the world, they have their own unique style. Even within a country, it's still unique within that country. But I think hanging with the muazzins, meeting the muazzins is one of the great joys and benefits of making the films. Yeah.
Okay, I've got one more here.
Okay, I'm not going to know it, but carry on. Makkah?
Nope.
No idea.
Close.
Medina?
It's actually East London Mosque.
Close. East London Mosque. I knew he was going to do that. Yeah. Okay.
East London Mosque, not only that, they actually broadcast it publicly. So apart from like Fajr and Isha, I think all the...
But you know, it's so funny. I know there's a great art amongst azans in different, especially Syria and Kuwait and these kind. They have different styles, but I've never really thought about. That's actually a good idea for a film. I think you've just had there.
Yeah.
Just on the life of muazzins.
If you want an executive,
come forward, man.
Producer,
I always say that the people I have the ideas with, the people I have the ideas with, they're the ones who are blessed. So let's do it together. Yeah,
I've been blessed.
Inshallah. Oh, well, let's do that. Yeah, one for the future.
Okay, one more left. One more.
Okay. This one sounds very different in style. Okay, no idea. Okay,
so different country. If you want to guess the country.
Where could it be? Not Middle East, I think.
Nope.
How about somewhere like Pakistan?
No. Shall I play it once again?
No.
You want to guess?
Yep.
Last guess?
India?
It's Turkey.
Turkey, nice.
Not only that.
Yeah.
That is actually the Turkish president himself.
Oh, is it? Is that
Recep
right?
Tayyip Erdogan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, if you're listening. That's
amazing.
His adhan, according to this YouTube video I just stole it from. It does sound like him, but he's known for doing that kind of stuff.
Okay, very cool.
But yeah, alhamdulillah. So you think of going to Turkey anytime soon?
We are going to Turkey sometime soon. One Day in the Harem was broadcast on national TV in Turkey, so we have a fan base there. Yeah, so inshallah we'll take One Day in AlAqsa, One Night in AlAqsa to Turkey as well.
Are you gonna maybe do a film about Turkey? I mean, Turkey and mosques is like a mind-blowing thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, I think Turkey's got such a rich heritage of mosques. You know, I've been to Turkey many times. I've stayed in the Blue Mosque for days on end, just marveling at that place. And you know, even when I was not just there on holiday, basically just exploring Turkey, I would take footage of the Blue Mosque because I found it so fascinating. I would love to get a drone up around the Blue Mosque. You
and know, the historical significance of the adhan there, because it's, you know, there was a period where it was banned in Arabic, and then just listening to it in the streets, and ostensibly a kind of European kind of street, and hearing the adhan in this massive mosque, it just brings a tear to the eyes.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. No, Turkey is such a rich, you know, heritage there. I loved going to the Blue Mosque and to the Topaki Palace.
That could be where we visit on our project that we do.
Inshallah. We'll go around the world, bro.
Yeah,
we'll go all around the world.
There, you heard it first, here, folks.
It's an exclusive. Yeah.
So let's play a clip, a trailer from your latest film, One Night in Al-Aqsa.
One Night in Al-Aqsa.
Should I just go and play, or you wanna mention a few words about this?
I just want to say that, you know, look, when we did One Day in the Haram, it opened many doors, alhamdulillah. Not just Islamic doors, but mainstream doors as well. You know, a lot of the mainstream came and said, hey man, you've made one of the most beautiful films. You know, what do you want to do next? We want to work with you in that. And out of all the projects that landed on my desk, we picked Al-Aqsa because literally Al-Aqsa was something where I saw there wasn't a more important film that I could make at the time. It was just it wasn't the best film. It definitely wasn't the most kind of lucrative or most commercially viable film, but it was the film that Islam needed. I felt there was a massive need for this film because there were so many misconceptions about Al-Aqsa. There was so much propaganda and lack of knowledge about Al-Aqsa. And also, most importantly, because, you know, Al-Aqsa felt like, to me, like it was under some kind of threat. It felt like, you know, it felt under like siege. Al-Aqsa, might not be around ever. And, you know, I kind of felt to myself, well, Allah didn't give me One Day in the Haram just to go and make make commercial lucrative projects now. Allah gave me one day in the Haram to open a doorway for me to make other projects. So I just felt I mean, and it's sad for me as well, kind of sad in a way, because you know, I'm basically at the start of my career in a way, and yet I feel already I don't think I'll ever make another film as important as One Night in Al-Aqsa. I think it's the most important film I've ever made.
Let's have a look at the trailer.
Now, before we go on, let's clear something up right away. This is not Masjid Al-Aqsa. This is the Dome of the Rock. This
Yeah, you know, in the cinemas, because obviously we did 22 cinemas across the UK, and we take exit interviews at every cinema. This scene was repeatedly was everyone's favourite scene, because people said, "Wow, I never knew that. I always thought it was the mosque with the grey dome, or I always thought it was." This was the kind of misconception,
part of the propaganda,
that is out, and disturbing people's knowledge. So we thought, let's clarify this for once, and that's why people really appreciate it.
Aqsa is the whole compound.
It's the whole compound, and that was knowledge for me as well. When I first went to Jerusalem, I found that out. They told me that, and I was like, wow, I didn't know this. There must be millions of other Muslims out there who don't know this. We can transfer this knowledge. So that's why this scene, to me, is one of my favourite scenes, because literally so much audience reacted to this scene. Yes, this is, I think, one of the original trailers that we launched for the film.
An ancient spiritual city.
I really like the soundtrack as well.
Yeah, the soundtrack.
Is that Abdullah Roll?
It is Abdullah Roll.
Yeah, I recognise the voice.
Beautiful brother, and a beautiful voice. You know, for this kind of thing. It was just unbelievable. This is the Muazzin. Yeah, that's the Muazzin.
Work here. We invite you to experience the night of power.
You know, it's so strange looking back at these footage, you know, reminding me of how we felt when we was filming these things, especially the shots on the night of power. I think that was the most, you know, I've been everywhere around the world.
27th night of Ramadan.
27th night of Ramadan in Masjid Al-Aqsa. I don't think I've ever felt a more spiritual feeling or a more collective feeling amongst Muslims than on that night. And to be able to capture it is just, you know, that's beyond. But, you know, just to be there. It was amazing to be, subhanAllah. It was so amazing. The spirituality of this place is just steeped in the whole place, everywhere. You know, in Makkah it was different. You know, when I went to Makkah, it was like you're in this spiritual bubble. It's like I arrived in Makkah and I felt like I'd come home. I felt like I always was meant to be here. I never wanted to leave that place. I felt so comfortable in that place. With Al-Aqsa, obviously it's different. It's under occupation. The countries, the city, the mosque itself, they're under occupation. So it was a different vibe there. And I think that comes across in the film as well. You know, as I say, that's why I think it's a much more important film than say other projects that were on the cards at that time, because, you know, Al-Aqsa might not be around forever, face it.
Yeah. You know what I mean? SubhanAllah, one of the reasons why Al-Aqsa can be under siege and under occupation is because many Muslims don't have that same attachment to it as they do the Kaaba, and you know the iconic green dome of the Prophet ﷺ's mosque.
Absolutely.
You know, when we're kids, we see it on prayer mats and you know, madrasa booklets and people's pictures on the walls, and you know, we really feel strongly at Psalm 20 as well to relink that connection to Aqsa as well.
Absolutely.
In young people and the younger generation.
I mean, you know, people need to realize that Al-Aqsa is up there in the same category as Masjid al-Haram and the Prophet's Mosque.
It was the first masjid.
Yeah, and it's the only
first
masjid.
First qibla for
the first
Muslim,
qibla, I mean, it's got so much historical significance in Islam, and you know, I feel like, as you say, over the years, the love in people's hearts for Al-Aqsa has dwindled. It's dropped down. People don't realize how important this place is and how much it's our duty to protect this place. You know, to protect it as the protectors of Al-Aqsa. You know, when I spoke to the Waqf department, who gave the ultimate authorities to film in Al-Aqsa, you know, I spoke to the Waqf department.
It's administered by the Jordanians, right?
The Jordanian Waqf. Yeah. So I was speaking to the president of the Waqf, and you know, I asked him a whole bunch of stuff in our first meeting, and I was like, okay, we need this, and we need this, and we need permissions for this, and we need to get into this. And you know, at the end of it all, I said to him, and also, I mean, what do you guys want? You know, because I'm making this film for you. I want it to be a benefit to you. So tell me what I can do to put in this film for you. And he said, we don't want anything. He says, you know what, it's quite funny. He's kind of lovely. He says, you guys go on a lot of marches and protests and demonstrate. He goes, they don't do anything for us. On the ground here in Jerusalem, they don't affect us at all. Sometimes we don't even know they're going on. That's like for you guys and with your governments in your countries. He goes, for us, all we want people to do is come here to visit us,
Yeah,
to pray in
subhanallah.
Al-Aqsa, to stand in solidarity with us in Al-Aqsa, and to show the world that Al-Aqsa is important to us. So that was one of the main themes throughout the film, and that's the message of the film. And I think, you know, it's mashallah, it's been very successful, because so many people after the screenings have come and said, hey, after watching your film, I've made intention to go to Al-Aqsa.
Yeah.
And I think that's a tremendous parameter of success for the film.
Yeah, subhanallah. I mean, this, you probably had this already, but it goes to show the importance of your intention when you're filming it, when you're pulling those hard hours in, long hours in. Then you're thinking ahead to, you know, if somebody in 10 years' time goes and watches this film, then rekindles their connection to
Even
Al-Aqsa,
more than that,
I'll be rewarded for that.
Yeah,
inshallah.
and even more than that, you know, for me, literally, as I say, when I made that decision of what film to make next, all doors were open, all options were open. People were coming to me and saying, hey, we've got an option in the Vatican, do you want to come and make one day in the Vatican? Yeah, there was Medina was on the card. We had the Prince of Medina saying to us, come make a film exactly like One Day in the Haram in Medina. We had all these very cool options, but we chose
East London Mosque.
Well, we done East London Mosque as part of Model Mosque 12 years ago, so I didn't want to revisit it. But
I think they had an extension since then.
Well, not that it's not worthy, but you know, covering old ground on that. But you know, we basically chose Al-Aqsa because when I saw of it, and you're talking about future legacy and everything, and I thought to myself, hey, by the time, say, my children, our generation of children grow up and become 20, 30, 50, in 50 to 100 years' time, there may not be any Al-Aqsa.
So they said,
you know, what better way to spend my time than to make a film on Al-Aqsa that will be there as a historical record forever, you know, because now film is forever. Whatever you're making is going to be there, you know, for all of history. So we wanted to just make something and put it there as a parameter. So if anything does happen to Al-Aqsa, there is a record there of what it was actually to the Muslims, you know, and I thought that was very important in terms of the legacy.
What they said though, that the marches, they don't really directly help them, but what does help them is people coming,
going there,
showing physical solidarity. Because Palestinians there, who born and raised just a few hundred yards away, they're not allowed to enter.
Exactly.
But you and I, we have, for, you know, even if it's
we have a British passport,
even though it's an unjust privilege, we have that privilege that
and
we can wave it around. We can go to these places.
We filmed scenes of Palestinians queuing to go to Al-Aqsa on the night of on the day of the Night of Power. Okay, on that Friday, we filmed, and it was akin to, I mean, they were the most traumatic scenes probably I've ever filmed in my life. It was traumatic to see those things, and to be honest with you, we cut the whole scene from the film. We cut the whole scene from the film. And people say, well, why did you cut the whole scene from the film? You're really showing the Palestinians what they go through. And so I said, the objective of our film is to encourage people to go to Al-Aqsa. I said, I don't feel like I have to show the suffering of the Palestinians, because there's a certain segment of society, people are afraid. Yeah. People are afraid to go to Al-Aqsa.
I was going to mention that as well,
And I want to crush that fear. I want to crush that fear. I don't want to make something that is going to accelerate that fear or show, hey, actually, we're right. It is dangerous out there. Look how they're treated.
It's dangerous for the people who are there, who belong there.
Exactly.
But for you and I, we can easily just go to a travel agent.
I always say, people ask me this question. They say, they come up after, they won't ask it in the Q&As. They'll come afterwards and ask quietly in my ear. They'll say, but is it dangerous for us to go there? And I'll say, like, subhanAllah, like sister or brother, I'll say, it's not dangerous for you to go there at all. It's easy for you to go there. And I said, plus, they're more afraid of you than you are of them. They're worried of you know, insulting you in some way or creating some kind of bad publicity to someone who is a British citizen. Use that advantage. Go to Al-Aqsa. Stand in solidarity. Yeah, exactly. They're more worried about offending you than you should be of them. They have a process they have to go through. You know, so I think.
Did you get any trouble with the occupation forces?
We didn't get any trouble, alhamdulillah. I mean, the thing was, with us, most of our
cameras.
Well, no, there were issues. I mean, it wasn't like there was no issues, but you know, the thing was, we had two very huge advantages. The first was that our access was granted by the Waqf. So everything within Al-Aqsa, within the compound, is autonomous. The Waqf are autonomously in control of that, so they could grant that. So the Israelis didn't have anything. Yes, going through the old city with our kit, our cameras, everything like that, that was more troublesome. We got stopped sometimes.
Getting into the country.
No, getting into the country was no problem as well. Because, so the Waqf was one advantage. We had that, and that was a massive advantage because they made everything easy for us. The other advantage we had was that we had a gentleman called Andre Singer, who had basically wanted to work with me after one day in the Harem. So he was one of many people who'd approached me at that time and said, hey, we really like your work, we want to work with you. Okay, I looked at this guy and I didn't know who he was. One of his producers rang me up, but he ran a very, very large production company. So I Googled the guy, Andre Singer. I didn't know who he was. And then I found out he's an Oscar-nominated, Emmy Award-winning producer, multiple Emmy Award-winning producer. So I thought, okay, this guy is very senior. And then I found out, okay, he's Jewish. So I was like, okay, this guy is Jewish, and I'm going to go there and say to him, I'm making a film on Al-Aqsa. How's that going to go down? Yeah. But Qadr of Allah, again, like I say, what I was just saying to you, Allah puts people together who are meant to be together. I sat in the meeting with him. I told him about Al-Aqsa, and I was waiting for the reaction to say, oh, no, I don't think this is going to be right for us. This project's not going to be right for us. Do you know what he did? He turned around. He said, oh, that's very interesting. He's a very old guy, 75, very softly spoken. He says, I made a film in Al-Aqsa 15 years ago.
Wow.
And I was like, subhanallah, you're a Jewish guy and you made a film in Al-Aqsa 15 years ago. He goes, yeah. And he reaches back. He's like, here's a copy of it. I want you to watch it. So I was like, wow, what's going on here? So I took this film home. It was called Stairway to Heaven. It was a 1-hour film, documentary. I went home, I watched it. I absolutely loved it. And it was a film, an hour long, just about the Mimbar of Al-Aqsa. Just about the Mimbar. It was in such detail.
Time.
From Salahuddin's, the original member. Yeah, it was in such detail. It was amazing. And when I made my film, obviously I did a little section. My section on the Mimbar was 4 minutes out of my total film, but he made a whole film just on the Mimbar. So the next day I called him back and I said, you know what, Andre, I love that film that you made. And for me to see a Jewish executive producer making a film like that was such a positive film about Islam and Muslim being Jewish and in Jerusalem, I was like, Allah has put me and you together for a reason. So I said, I would love you to be the executive producer on Al-Aqsa, to which he accepted. Now, that was such a blessing because, number one, it was kind of like an interfaith, because this was a Jewish guy who was very geared on towards what was important to Muslims. But secondly, because he was tremendously respected as well in Jerusalem. He had tremendous access, he had contacts, and this opened the way for a lot of things. Especially there's scenes in the One Night in Al-Aqsa set in the Wailing Wall, which is the most holiest place for Jews, and scenes set in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which is the most holy place for Christians. And I felt it was very important to show Muslims these places so they could understand why the relationship of these places with Al-Aqsa and with Islam. So this was very important to me. And Andre Singer, because we had those contacts, was what made it very easy for us, and that's why we didn't get much trouble from the Israeli side.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses so many ways to open doors for people if you have a sincere intention, inshallah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in terms of you alluded to there being Islamic and then there being a mainstream. So in terms of the mainstream, what you would call the mainstream, who are some of your inspirations in terms of what kind of film did you used to watch and inspires you to?
I mean, I watch a lot of things. I'm just a student of film, so I watch anything and everything. And from an early age, I started watching a wide variety of cinema. And the thing is, I kind of got through US and UK cinema very early. So by the time I was 16, 17, I was onto French cinema, and I was watching French cinema and saying, okay, well, how do these guys do things? And then I got into Japanese cinema. So I was watching all the classics from Japan, which was an amazing film. Iranian cinema, so I got into different world cinemas. I picked up a lot of viewpoints. I picked up a lot of different styles. So, and stuff that I picked up, I found it very easy to adapt and put it into my own work as well, which people sometimes have a difficulty doing that. But for me, these things came very easy. My first love was always the camera, and it was literally visual storytelling. So it was like literally with One Day in the Haram, One Night. If I turn the volume down on these films, I would like to think the audience can still enjoy this film just visually, just from the visual story that is being told. That's my style. That's very important to me. So
many people don't realize what goes into making telling a story just visually. Can you give some kind of pointers, some tips? So some angles, what kind of stuff do you look to do? So I mean, I've read some kind of books about, cinematography and how to tell a story without dialogue and that kind of stuff. And they talk about very subtle things like the lighting, the coloring, the movement of the characters, what direction are they going in, and that kind of stuff. What kind of stuff do you implement
for me, like my process, I kind of developed over many years, and it was just what came naturally to me, the shots I liked. If you go back to Model Mosque, you'll see these kind of roving, moving shots, and you'll see these time lapses on, the minaret of the mosque. they're exactly the same shots that I used in One Day in the Haram, because they're shots that I respond to, that I like, you know, symmetrical shots. I like things to be very symmetrical. I like characters to be moving. I don't like things to be on a tripod. I like things to be moving all the time. You know, these kind of things were like, and time lapses. Time lapse has always been a great love of mine. I've been shooting time lapses for the last 15 years, you know. So to go to Mecca and to find those time lapses, then to shoot those time lapses, and then to work in post-production to make them as perfect as they can be, you know, this is all part of a beautiful process for me. Like I love that process. But I think, you know, that in Mecca and with any documentary, I think you have to be adaptable. You can have your plan. You can have your plan. I mean, we planned things down to a T. And Mecca, we planned it not just to the hour, but to the minute of what would happen every day. And, you know, because I knew time was limited and the place was massive. So, you know, to make it all sure that we stuck on schedule to everything. But, you know, on documentary shoots, on shoots that are just, you know, you're filming live action, you're filming real life. So things can change at any moment.
And you're reacting to what's happening.
And you're basically adapting and reacting to what's happening. So if people are asking me, well, what's your style? Well, my style is just to be adaptable. My style is to be adaptable to whatever happens in front of me and to react to it very, very quickly and make the best of it I can. So, and it's not always a disadvantage. Sometimes it's an advantage because, you know, for example, when we were there once, I think in Mecca, a cleaning scene took place. Now, we planned the cleaning scene, but what we didn't know and what they hadn't told us, that 100 cleaners would come.
Wow.
That 100 cleaners would come to be part of this scene. So I turn around and there's 100 cleaners sitting there. And everyone's looking at me and going, well, what do you want them to do? Like, I didn't have a plan for it. So you know, I mean, we just didn't have a plan for it. It was unexpected. So the thing was just to react to say, okay, now we've got this massive group of cleaners. Let's put them to work. Let's have them going around here. It is inspirational,
the way they move like clockwork.
SubhanAllah. I mean, they were absolutely like military precision.
Just watching, everything about the documentary, really, or film, I don't know what you would call it, documentary film.
Yeah, feature-length documentary.
It really wanted me to go. It made me want to go and to Umrah again.
Alhamdulillah.
I've been to Umrah once, Hajj once, alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah.
But I really felt like going again, and
it has that
you'll
effect,
get some of the reward for that, inshallah, if I do end up going soon. Inshallah.
Well, you talk about the rewards. I mean, you know, I'm not worthy of the rewards, because the rewards, the way I see it, One Day in the Haram is basically one of the the greatest dawah tools that we have in our time right now. Is One Day in the Haram, a film that has reached 35 million people in multiple countries across the world. It's impossible to achieve that through a normal means of dawah. So for me, I think, you know, the rewards, like I say, I don't ever feel like I'm worthy of the rewards. I don't ever really felt that I was worthy to make One Day in the Haram. I used to, you know, I spent the last 2 years asking myself, why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give this honor to me?
It's a responsibility, you know,
as well. It's a scary responsibility. People ask me, one of the main questions I used to get, well, how does it feel? How does it feel to be in the Haram, to be shooting all that? You must have been overjoyed. And I was like, no, man. The main emotion I felt during the shoot of One Day in the Haram was fear. I was scared. You know what? If I got something wrong, you know what? If I filmed something incorrectly or said something in the script incorrectly that was wrong, you know, millions of people are going to watch this. It's going to be multiplied so many times. I'm in the Haram, you know. So we're not enjoying that process in terms of, you know, the fear of what we was actually doing. I knew it was big, but obviously we didn't know how big it was.
You mentioned the scene about this is not Aqsa. This is not Aqsa. That was one of your favorite scenes.
Yeah.
What was your favorite scene in the One Day in the Haram?
I think with Haram, subhanAllah, I mean, there were just so many favorite scenes. There were so many beautiful moments. There were miraculous moments during that shoot. You know, what I would term as miracles. You know, even I just described to you the being on the helicopter and the fear. Literally, my heart was beating like this. I was like, my God, why haven't they got a harness? How can they expect me to sit with my feet dangling off this helicopter like in the old Vietnam movies? How can they expect this in 2018?
Mafi harness.
So I was like, no, Mafi harness. No, take a seat, brother. It's fine. But you know, like I say, that was a miracle because when I sat, everything was so calm. It was like I was so calm. I was enjoying it. I was relaxed. I was getting the perfect shot. You know, I was making I wasn't worried about falling out.
And a bit of you was thinking, if I do fall out, I might be a shaheed.
Exactly. and subhanAllah, that thought went exactly through my head as well. I thought, well, what better way to die than you know, flying above Makkah, filming the Haram.
Crush someone with your camera.
SubhanAllah. But you know, there were so many favorites.
I'll tell you one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, go ahead.
It was it's just something that made me burst out laughing when the brother, he's going to the people that kind of squadron armed with Zamzam tanks that are there to give
water,
all these kind of cool gadgets to give water to the pilgrims, and I just thought they look like the Ghostbusters or
Oh
something.
my god! I thought exactly the same.
I was just
can tell
thinking,
you're a film guy. Yeah, I can tell you're a film guy. Yeah, because I made that visual reference as well. I thought, wow, it really looks like Ghostbusters.
I thought there was something that was intentional. I think this is too funny.
Man. Yeah, that was
good
really funny.
Yeah.
What was also funny about that scene, if you remember that scene, was a group of Saudi guys lined up wearing those jackets. Yeah. But those Saudi guys never actually do the distribution. It's always the Asians, the Indians, the Pakistanis, the from these different areas. They're always the ones toiling in the sun. But those Saudi guys heard that a camera was coming. It's going to be a big film, and they said, "Hey, you know what? We'll wear the jacket." And I said, "No, I don't want you to wear the jacket. I want these guys, the guys who are actually doing the job, to wear the jacket." And they insisted. So I stopped the shoot. I said, "Stop the shoot. Stop everything." I got on the phone to my Riyasa guy. I said, "Man, who is the head of their department? I want to speak to him. I'm not having this. We're not having it." And he was like, okay, I'll get through to the boss. Went through several department heads saying this is not happening, and I went to the final department head who was away, who was on holiday, who wasn't in the Harem. So, we can't get authorization from him. So these guys wouldn't budge. So I filmed the scene with them anyway, but then I made sure, that then they dropped the jackets, that the real guys, the legitimate guys, put the jackets on. But this is one of the small political things you have to do. I got an award. I got 5 awards last year, mashallah, for One Day in the Haram. 5 awards around the world. We went to get this award in Australia. The geezer goes, "This is for the production of One Day in the Haram." I said, "Brother, you shouldn't be giving me an award for the production of One Day in the Haram, because that was the easy part. You should be giving me an award for the diplomacy I showed during the shooting of One Day in the Haram, because that was what took real skill." That was what took real skill.
So what I mean, you've talked about dawah and the incredible impact it can potentially have, this type of creative medium. What advice or what words would you give to parents whose children are thinking of taking up a career or are interested in going into the arts, into something creative, and their parents are feeling apprehensive, they're feeling a bit worried about this? What advice would you give to them?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very, very difficult question. The easy thing for me to be say, hey, man, encourage everyone to be creative, encourage everyone to go out. Look, this industry is a very difficult industry. I'm not going to lie to anyone. It's very difficult to break through. People think I just came and arrived all of a sudden with One Day in the Harem. No, I told you before, I've been grinding out here for 12 years. I've been developing my skills, and I'm someone with like I said, when I decide I want to do something, that's me. I'm going to do it. I'm going to, so long as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with me, I feel like I can do anything. People have got to have that kind of thick skin and that kind of mentality. I'd say to parents, check your child. Check your child. What is he sitting there? Is he a dreamer? Is he the kind of one who's saying, "Oh, I'd like to do it," but thinks everything's going to fall in on a plate for him? Because it's not. Then you need to pull him away and make him do that IT course. And this is just being real. I mean, I would love to sit here and say, "Hey, man, encourage everyone." Because I think creativity is the most beautiful thing. I mean, I thrive off this. But it's hard work. It's tenacity. It's having a creative vision. It's being inclined towards the tools of the trade. It's all of these things. It's multiple things. If you want to come in, I don't want to encourage parents to put their children in unless they believe. And also, most importantly, it's desire, it's will. It's the will. Do you actually want to do something? Because if you do, to be honest, your parents are not going to hold you back. They're not going to have the power to hold you back. If when I was young and I was growing up and I wanted to make films, no one was going to stop me from making it. It wouldn't have mattered if my parents said to me, no. Whereas obviously for me, it was lucky they were supportive, and that makes it so much easier. But I would say,
do it anyway. You do it in your spare time.
Exactly.
You do it after school.
Do it in your spare time. And also, people can hedge their bets. I think this is a very important point. Look, I did a business IT degree, but I filmed all the way through university. I filmed some of the lectures. I filmed like the group project. That's what they bought the footage they bought off me was what I'd filmed there.
I did something similar.
So there you go. People who are inclined towards it, it will come out of them anyway. So don't worry about it. I'd say relax a little, give them space to breathe. Don't discourage them, but just say to them, look, so long as you've got a safety harness, then go through. It doesn't have to be all or nothing.
They need to realize that it's hard work. They just see the end product. And they're like, oh, I'd like to do that. But they don't realize it's hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of work that goes into it.
Absolutely. And, I mean, I know so many producers, not everyone gets a break. Like the first show I made, Model Mosque, alhamdulillah, blessings of Allah, was tremendous success. That opened doors for me, made it easy for me, right? Because I had that success behind me. But if you're just starting out and you don't have a Model Mosque, for example, you don't have a One Day in the Harem, but you need something to advertise yourself and grow, So this is a very difficult industry, and it's harder for us. Because what we're involved in, the organization and my organization, Red Face Films, we are not just a production company or a creative agency. We are an Islamic production cut, which is completely different. I was talking to the mainstream. A lot of guys from the mainstream come to me now and they say things like, oh, why don't you put One Day in the Harem? It's so beautiful. Why don't you put it on BBC or Channel 4 and things like this, you know? I try to explain to them, I say, look, when you're a creative in the mainstream industries, sky is the limit for you. There is no barriers to your creativity. Yeah, literally the sky is the limit. You do whatever you want. You can have nudity
Sky
in there.
Movie, Sky One.
No, okay, that's good. But no, what I'm saying, you could have violence on there. You could have swearing on there. You could have nudity on there. Anything that sells, you can do it. You know, because sky is the limit on your creativity. When you're an Islamic producer, you've got a guideline. You've got a halal system within which you have to operate.
And it's those restrictions that actually spurs on creativity.
Exactly. I in my opinion as well, I agree with you. I think those restrictions make us more creative as Islamic producers. You know, growing up as a kid, I thought being a director was the most coolest thing in the world. I don't believe there is a cooler job than being a director. Look at what we do. We fly around the world, go to different locations. We film stuff, make it beautiful, put it on cinemas around the world. You know, it's an amazing lifestyle, mashallah, alhamdulillah. But what is more cool than being a producer is being an Islamic producer. That's the most cool thing, because then not only have you got those, but you're also spreading goodness in the world. You're spreading dawah in the world. You're spreading interfaith relations in the world. You're explaining Islam to people who don't understand it in the world. You know, you're spreading, like, you know, One Day in the Harem, our current plan for One Day in the Harem, what we've been working on for the last 6 months, is to take it to refugees. Because, you know, I used to ask myself every single day, why did Allah give me one day in Haram? And always trying to know, what's the maqsad of this? What's the matlab, the meaning of it? Why did this happen? And what I came back to was that Allah must have done it obviously to spread it, to show people, non-Muslims, to show them dawah, but also for Muslims who could never reach the Haram. Because if you look at a big part of our focus now has been the Rohingya in the refugee camps on the border of Bangladesh. And, you know, we've gained a lot of traction, a lot of political support to put up big screens, 100-foot screens in those refugee camps and just show them One Day in the Haram. Because we feel, look, these people, literally, they've got no chance to go to the Haram. They haven't got a chance to go to the cinema, let alone go to the Haram, okay? So for them, it's like it will be such an iman booster to see something like this. So I really feel that at the moment, that is what I feel that is the purpose of the films, to reach those people who can never get there, you know, and bridge that distance for them, you know, to make the intention, you know, in their hearts to go there and inshallah Allah improve their condition and get them there. But I really feel like, especially for kids, there's kids in those camps who don't even know what a film is. They've never seen a film or moving image. They've never seen it. Imagine how wondrous it would be for them.
Just, you know, to deal with and the mental health, their
well-being,
escape,
well-being, iman boost. Because, you know, it's wonderful the work of our friends in the charities they do. It's very important work. They feed them, they clothe them. But who looks after their mental health? Who looks after their iman? Who gives them hope? Who gives them hope? The food that they're eating, though, the thing, it doesn't give them hope. You know, they're hopeless. You know, but I feel like a film like One Day in the Haram would inspire hope in these people. So, you know, I think that's what the calling, and inshallah, that's what we're working very hard towards now.
So, I'm wary of the time. I don't want to keep taking too much of your time, but I want to ask you, what's next for you? What is your vision, short term and long term?
I mean, short term now, we're basically, obviously, Al-Aqsa has just been released.
How can people watch that?
Well, Al-Aqsa, what our plan is, we have like a strategy for release to get the film out to everyone who needs to see it. So we've had the cinema screenings now. We basically have 4 tiers. It's like the premiere that came first, the Leicester Square premiere, then the cinema screenings, and now we're on the level where we're going to do community screenings. So we've got an additional 45 screenings coming up in the UK. We're also now going to go and start doing the international round. So I'll have to travel for a while now, but we'll go and do cinema tours in Australia, Canada, the US and South Africa, where we've sold the film in those territories already. We're ever increasing the amount of territories, the distribution deals. So there's a lot of work going on in distribution now with One Day in the Haram, One Night in Al-Aqsa immediately. And eventually, once we've done all of that and we've done all the cinema screenings around the world, then we'll drop it on Amazon Prime or something like that, so everyone, 200 countries in the world, can get access to it. But there's a lot of work going on with One Night in Al-Aqsa. There's a lot of outreach work going on. So like I say, there's a lot of interfaith screenings going on. There's massive plans for One Night in Al-Aqsa. It's going to spread, inshallah, in a way, generically all over the world. And we'll push that. We've obviously got more productions coming. Red Face Films, alhamdulillah, thanks to the will of Allah and for putting us in this position, we've got 3 new films coming out in 2020. They've already been commissioned, they're funded, they're basically going into production. So we'll have 3 films coming out in 2020, and then in 21 we'll have the first Red Face Films feature film coming out.
SubhanAllah. Really?
Yes, this is all happening. I mean, this, like I say, I'm very good because I'm fortunate because I've got a tremendous team around me. I've got a tremendous group of people who are believing in this, and I never thought it's going to be something like this. And I always say, these people who are around me, they believe in me more than I believe in myself. So these things, I'm just making the product and focusing on the creativity, on the films, and other people are taking care of the distribution now. They're taking care of the marketing now. They're taking care of the, the pre-sales now. All this type of stuff is being taken care of. I'm not doing much on it. I'm literally just keep myself on the creative field, just keep myself shooting and keep doing projects that I'm very, very interested in, that I feel like I can do justice to because of my unique experiences in life. So inshallah, we will carry on, and inshallah, I hope you guys will support us, and you will come to the premiere next time, because you actually didn't come. And
I was sick that day.
I think we're in a tremendous moment. I mean, that's the thing. We're in a tremendous moment. Films like One Day in the Harem, they've opened a new barometer in this industry for us.
Genre.
I think a new genre. Yeah. Andre Singer, as I said, he's an multiple Emmy award-winning and Oscar-nominated producer. He turns around to me the other day. He goes, "The work you're doing is amazing, Abrar." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "You've basically created a new system of distribution for films that no one has ever done in the world before. You're the only one doing it." And that was like amazing to me, because this is a guy who is very, very senior in this stuff, So alhamdulillah, we plan to just keep innovating. We plan to keep reaching audiences in new ways and all over the world. We want to build on One Day in the Harem. It's currently on 35 million viewers around the world, but that's literally scratching the surface. We need to get to 100 million views per world. We want to increase our team in the UK. We need volunteers to work with us. We need professionals to work with us. We need to increase everything. There's a lot of options at the moment. There's a lot of decisions that need to be made in terms of the future of the company and what we're going to do, because so many doors have opened because of the success of the first few films. But we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he'll keep supporting us on our journey and opening doors for us, as he has done now. And who knows, one day in the Vatican might well come soon as well, because I'm interested in doing something for the other side as well.
So 2021, you said first feature film.
Inshallah.
And then we're going to do our adhan thing after that? Or?
No, we can do that. Yeah, we can do that.
I can wait.
No, it can happen during. It can happen during. So I think that'll be a nice, fun project for us.
Yeah, mashallah. Okay, I'll hold you to that, inshallah. Jazakallah khair, brother.
Alhamdulillah, jazakallah khair.
Abrar Hussain, mashallah.
Thank
it was
you so
a
much.
pleasure talking to you.
Alhamdulillah.
I've been your host, Salman Butt, and thank you for listening to this Islam 20 podcast, Unscripted. If you enjoyed it, if you liked it, give it a like and a share. Maybe a few comments. If you didn't, then be careful, because we have very fragile egos. You can find out more about Abrar's work in the description below. We'll put all the links there, inshallah. And hopefully we'll see him soon, inshallah, when we maybe when you're doing the Vatican thing, or
Inshallah.
at your next Leicester Square premiere, inshallah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum.
If there's something strange in your neighborhood,